413-736-2781. Jamel Roberson was the quintessential good guy with a gun, according to the NRA. You know, NRA always says there's nothing better to combat a bad guy with a gun than a good guy with a gun. Well, this 26-year-old security guard at Manny's Blue Room Lounge took up arms to defend the patrons from a would-be shooter. And this happened just days after a dozen people were murdered by a gunman who had opened fire in a bar in California. A group of intoxicated men had earlier been ejected from Manny's bar, and one of them came back with a gun, started shooting. Roberson returned fire, and he was ultimately able to disarm and detain the shooter after putting a knee in his back. And that really sounded like a Second Amendment success story. I mean, the kind we're routinely told that are virtually impossible in the wake of any mass shooting incident. But what happened next is what boggles our mind. The police came and shot and killed Roberson. The suspect lives. The young black man who prevented the next mass shooting is dead. His 9-month-old baby and his brand new baby that hasn't been born yet are now fatherless. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
How you doing? This is Bob Queens.
Yes, sir. You're on the air.
Okay, I just wanted to talk about the police shootings recently where unarmed men or armed black men are getting killed without any warning.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we have a country where whenever they want to go on the police side, they're saying, well, you know, you got to give them some leeway. They don't know what's happening. They have a tough job. Wait a minute. Yes, they have a tough job, but they get paid and training for this tough job.
And they manage to bring white folk in alive every day.
And they get fast food. They get Burger King when they shoot up a church and all that type of stuff. Now, my point is this: we understand they have a tough job. We don't argue about that. We understand that. We know that it's a job that a lot of people can't do. So stop hiring people that can't do it. Okay? Stop having training where they're scared to go in the minority neighborhood and they feel like they're in fear because that's what they got a tough job. They go into these tough neighborhoods. Well, then hire people that can deal with it. Because now, if you go to a heart surgeon, and what's he going to say? Oh, I have a tough job, and today I had a bad day, and I messed your heart up.
Yeah. They, right. You can't. Heart surgeon can't just be like, oops, I killed the wrong person.
Yeah, I had a tough job. He just, I had. And oops, I'm sorry, your heart's messed up. That's the heart surgeon gets paid his money and his training because of his job. Like that's why he gets, that's why he gets the training. That's why he goes to medical school and all that type of nonsense. But a police officer, they keep getting excuses for every time they do. The Alabama Mall, they just shot a guy up. That was, that had nothing to do with it. And now they bringing out excuses. Well, he might have been in the... No, we don't want to hear that. He might have been in the altercation. You're a police officer. Know what's going on.
Well, and that's a good segue into the story about Emantic Bradford. Thank you so much for your call. What happened in the Hoover Mall in Alabama, dozens of people were fleeing a Thanksgiving evening shooting inside the Alabama Mall, stampeding through the food court, hiding inside stores. One woman told reporters that she said a prayer as she ran to give the police wisdom and accuracy of shots. At first, it seemed like that prayer was answered because police in Hoover soon announced that they had secured the River Chase Galleria and they had killed the gunman. We all saw that on the news. They even named the gunman. It's Gerald Bradford Jr. Speaking to reporters who were outside the mall, the police said that Bradford had shot a teenager during a fight near the food court and that he wounded a 12-year-old girl with a stray bullet and brandished his pistol at the uniformed officer who killed him. And then the police said, quote, "Thank God we had our officers very close. They heard the gunfire, they engaged the subject, they took out the threat, beat their chest. We did our thing." The next day, it became crystal clear that the police missed something. As Black Friday crowds streamed through the mall in the morning, a reporter with the Fox affiliate in the area posted a photo of a pistol lying on the floor of the Santa's Village display. Oops, looked like the cops forgot something, huh? Later on that evening, the police released a statement, and they said, "We regret that our initial media release was not totally accurate." No, it wasn't accurate at all. Was not totally accurate. But new evidence indicates it wasn't. The statement said that new evidence suggested that while Mr. Bradford may have been involved in some aspect of the altercation, and he wasn't. But see, the cops were trying to justify murdering him. So you want to taint his reputation in the eyes of the public because you screwed up and murdered an innocent man. You want to taint his reputation by saying, well, he might have been involved in some aspect of the altercation. No, he wasn't. Then they said he likely did not fire the rounds that injured the 18-year-old victim. He didn't fire the rounds. And then they had to admit that the gunman was still at large. Now, Bradford is an Army veteran with a license to carry a gun and was in the process of protecting people. So you have two black men who were murdered, saving lives. Jamel Roberson and E.J. Bradford. Killed licensed gun owners. Killed saving lives, stopping mass shooters. Now, where the hamburger is the NRA? Where is the NRA and the whole Second Amendment right stuff? How come whenever it comes to black men like Philando Castile who have a license to carry a gun being murdered by police, the NRA somehow goes ghost? They disappear. They don't talk Second Amendment rights. Why? Because they don't apply to black people? Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Good morning, caller. 413-736-2781. I don't know if we got a prank caller or if somebody's just impatient. 413-736-2781. Where's the NRA? Standing up for these black men, licensed gun owners that were murdered by police. Where they at? And see, one of the most familiar refrains that we continue to raise in our criticism of police and their brutal tactics is this oft-repeated idea that white criminals are treated less harshly than black people that are completely innocent or accused of lesser crimes like having a busted taillight or speeding, some other innocuous crime. And the most popular extracurricular activity of those engaged in the fight for black lives is how often we notice when white men commit heinous crimes and are gently taken into custody by law enforcement. And they take pictures of them with wide tooth smiles and kid gloves. And we have to keep saying the same thing over and over again. If he was black, he wouldn't be alive. If Dylan Roof was black, he wouldn't be alive. If James Egan Holmes were black, he would not be alive. If Scott Michael Green were black, he would not be alive. And that's the truth. That's the fact of the matter. I mean, you can't get any realer than that. Scott Michael Green, a Donald Trump supporting Confederate flag waving man from Iowa, opened fire on police. Did y'all hear what I said? He opened fire on police, killed 2 police officers. And after eluding the police, guess what? He was taken in alive. A black man reaching for his license or his wallet gets murdered, but a white dude who kills police gets taken alive. Scott Michael Green, somehow these Caucasian assassins always have, 3 first names: James Earl Ray, Lee Harvey Oswald, Darren Dean Wilson, Scott Michael Green. But they get taken in alive without incident. And you got to wonder, did they buy him lunch too? They take him to Burger King? And I thought about it, so, maybe, because I can't think of any rational explanation as to why unarmed black people with flashlights, cell phones, wallets, bottles of medicine, nothing at all, get murdered because the white cops thought they had a weapon or thought they posed an imminent threat. I can't think of any rational excuse to why they keep killing black people. But white dudes who they know have automatic weapons, grenades, rocket launchers, you name it, they managed to bring them in alive. So I came up with some reasons as to why. And so let me tell you why cops treat white criminals differently from innocent black men. There are these extenuating circumstances in the minds of white folk as to why the police justifiably have to murder black people. They just have to. The first reason is because black men, they have superpowers. Got superpowers. I mean, I'm just trying to come up with the reasons why. That black men must have superpowers. And it seems ridiculous, but if the only valid explanation why cops routinely kill black men after they're subdued, it has to be the only valid reason. Because think about it, all the people that they killed. Alton Sterling was handcuffed, laying on the ground. But he must have been so dangerous that an officer still needed to put a bullet in his head because he thought that somehow, like Houdini, he was going to get out of the handcuffs. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. You're on the air.
Hey, I'm sorry. Talbert.
You're on the air.
My reason My reason is simple. They hate. They hate us. And they don't see us as human beings. They shot that boy in the face. They wanted him dead. And it's happening all over, even in Greece. They beat that boy to death. Got off.
Absolutely. Thank you for your call. 413-736-2781. Yeah, they thought Alton Sterling was going to somehow, with his super heat power, he was going to melt the handcuffs. So they had to put a bullet in his head. Terrence Crutcher was on video with his hands in the air. On video. But the officer who killed him said she saw him reaching into his car window, even though he was with his hands in the air and the car windows were rolled up. So she thought he was Elastic Man or something, and he was going to somehow stretch his hand and get into the car some way, because black men got superpowers, and we got to kill them before they activate their superpowers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. Sitting here listening to you, man, and it's just sad that what we go through. You know, they're trying to regulate us, take us out any way they can. Even if a mad dude that is white, go ahead kill him, his hand's going to be in front of us. If that was me, my hands would be in the back of me. On that note, y'all have a good day.
All right. Thank you for your call. 413-736-2781. Kenneth Walker was on his knees and shackled. Did you hear what I said? On his knees and shackled when a Columbus, Georgia sheriff's deputy shot him in the head with a submachine gun. On his knees and shackled. But he posed such an imminent threat, he had to be shot in the head with a submachine gun. And the reality is, in these yet-to-be United States of America, black men have to be careful not to reach for a weapon, not to reach for a license, not to reach for a wallet, not to reach for your dreams, not to reach for anything. And even then, you still will get murdered. Because you know how quick the hands of black men are. And even when you're watching them, even when they're on their knees shackled, even when their hands are in the air, even when they're handcuffed, they still somehow pose an imminent threat. Because we got superpowers, somehow, those black men, somehow they can break chains, they can leap tall buildings, they can elude gunfire. Y'all been watching too much Luke Cage. But, that has to be the reason. It has to be. Why else are they always killing unarmed, innocent black men? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, sir. I think here in America, blacks are being shot and killed. Although we build their penitentiary and we build their school, they don't care for us. They're just very hateful and fearful of us because of our statue. That's what I believe.
All right. Thank you for your call. 413-736-2781. Love to hear from you. If you got a different reason other than my superpower theory, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. That's the way it has to be. And then the other thing is, in the eyes of white police officers, white people are not dangerous. That has to be the reason why white folks who even shoot police and kill police can get taken into custody. Has to be the reason that somehow, some way, white people are not dangerous. You know, when the police gunned down John Crawford for purchasing an unloaded BB gun in Walmart, he was posing a far more imminent threat than when two drunken white men actually loaded and fired a gun at customers in Wally World. Crawford was killed. The white men were taken into custody without incident. Philando Castile told the cop he was armed. He had a license to carry. He was still murdered reaching for his papers. 12-year-old Tamir Rice. 12-year-old kid sitting on a swing. That video breaks my heart every time I watch it. 12-year-old kid sitting on a swing in a park was so menacing and evil that the cops shot him in 2 seconds after they arrived. Because he was playing with a toy gun. Like, white kids don't play with toy guns. But police took cover and they talked to Jed Frazier, white guy, as he pointed a loaded pistol at them. Come on, I want to hear from you. Where's my white callers that want to call me? Tell me the reason why Tamir Rice, a kid on a swing in a park playing with a toy gun, gets shot 2 seconds after the cops arrive. But Jed Frazier, a 25-year-old who is pointing a loaded pistol at the police, gets talked to. Now you tell me that ain't about race. Tell me with a straight face it has nothing to do with race. In the minds of white police officers, black women get murdered because they're more belligerent. You know the trope, the mantra of the angry black woman and how threatening that can be. If Sandra Bland hadn't committed the unspeakable crime and heinous act of puffing on a cigarette, maybe she would be alive today. If Rekia Boyd didn't have the audacity to simply walk away after having committed no crime, maybe she would be alive today. I mean, if Corinne Gaines hadn't locked the door of her own apartment trying to protect her son, maybe she'd be alive today. Because, these dangerous black women have to be murdered too. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, sir? How you doing?
I'm good.
I was just calling to touch up on a few key points that you made. I definitely all for what you're saying as far as them looking at us as we are superhuman. They don't see us in the same equivalent as them. We're treated, how can I say, as terrorists in our own land. They see threat just because of the color of our skin, no matter how old, young, or weak you look. They want to take us down.
Absolutely.
It's sad to say, very sad to say, that children can't even play outside as normal boys would without having an issue. Can't have kids outside having cops and robbers as we would play as younger children without them feeling like they're a threat. It's sickening to see that every other day there's someone new on the news because of a situation like this. Things become a new trend.
It's the American way. Thank you so much for your call. 413-736-2781. If only Corinne Gaines and Rekia Boyd and Sandra Bland, if they had been more like a white woman, like Julia Shields, who went on a shooting rampage that ended with her pointing a rifle at the police. And she was, guess, take a guess, take a guess. You got it? Taken into custody alive. Alive. And it's not because she's white. It can't be because she's white. I mean, after all, if a black woman would have pointed a loaded rifle at the cops, she'd be taken alive too, right? Yeah, okay. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop. My thing is, when you look at these white officers driving through our black neighborhood, they don't smile. They just look at us like we're caged animals. They look at us with this stern look like, what are you doing? Like it's always a question on their minds of what we're doing. Whatever happened to the community policing when they had black officers that knew the people? When you got crazy Johnny acting up and he would come in and say, I know about this guy, and get him safely home. Because maybe he didn't take his meds or something. But we knew, he knew when they had black officers, when we had black officers in the neighborhood, they knew their community. But now they integrate, they have the white officers, community policing our neighborhood, and they don't know no one. They don't get to know no one. They don't stop to talk to no one. That's all I had to say, God.
All right, thank you for your call. 413-736-2781. A few minutes left in the program. I'll take your calls until show close. Those are the reasons, I thought of, and I know people are going to say, well, Bishop, Reverend, Talbert, it comes down to a split-second decision. Cops have to make split-second decisions. How come their decision is always to take white folks in alive, and their decision is always to kill black folks? Split-second decision. And sometimes those split-second decisions are the decision of, do I feel like chasing this guy? After all, have you ever tried to run down a black man? With our superhuman strength, the cops are going to risk getting their uniform all sweaty, and they're going to risk burning some calories. So instead, they make the split-second decision, I'll just shoot him in the back. Like they did 15-year-old Keston Charles in Brooklyn, New York, or like they did Walter Scott when he was gunned down, shot 8 times in the back, and he had been pulled over for a taillight. Yeah, that split-second decisions. Yeah, tell me about it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. This is Medina from D.C. I hope I'm going to not get confused with what I want to say. Me, myself, I think that the people have a caucus or bear DNA. For me, I think they don't see any wrong in their own animalistic pack, among their own packs. And that animalistic and barbaric DNA allows them to implement an instinct of fear, which is not of God. And with that instinct, they implement an irrational racial decision against another pack, another group of people of any type of color other than themselves. I happen to think that it's an animalistic and barbaric DNA that they have to tap into and face themselves.
All right. Thank you for your call. 413-736-2781. And then have you ever noticed that young white people are troubled and young black men are thugs? Mike Brown in Ferguson needed to be shot 8 times because they said he stole Swisher Sweets. But Mike was 6'4". He was a Hulk. But Darren Wilson was 6'3" and heavier than Mike Brown. Keith Lamont Scott was supposedly a troublemaker, even though he had a history of mental illness. Alfred Alonso was mentally disabled, but they feared for their safety. When Kajim Powell stole donuts and an energy drink from a convenience store, He waited for the cops and begged them to shoot him. He was black, so they obliged him, and they did it. And the list goes on and on. But when Colorado theater shooter James Holmes was taken without force, because he was troubled, even though he murdered 12 people and injured 70 in a theater and was armed to the teeth, they took him without incident because he was troubled. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi. I just want to say it is all racist. It's hate. It's prejudice. Plain and simple, point blank, period. That's what I believe. And I am white, so.
All right. Thank you for your call. I agree with you. 413-736-2781. Jared Lee Loner opened fire at a Gabriel Giffords rally. Killed 6 people. He was taken alive and deemed mentally unstable. He was white. After Sandy Hook, shooter Adam Lanza killed 20 first graders, babies. He took his own life. Maybe he knew that every serial killer from Ted Kaczynski to Charles Manson always escapes with his life unless he takes it himself. You see how that works? That every time a white mass shooter is killed, 9 times out of 10, it's because he killed himself, not because he was killed by police. But these are the so-called valid reasons that white guys always make it into custody, unbruised. It's not racism, Talbert. It's all these other extenuating circumstances that dictate that white lives are handled differently from those of you with melanin in your skin. There's just this one undeniable fact that we can't escape in all of this. And that is, in the minds of white cops and the white people who continue to defend the cops, no matter how heinous the crime they commit, it's because in their minds, white lives matter and black lives don't. Good morning, caller. You're the last caller of the day.
Hey, I'm sorry. This is just a little off topic, but I wanted you to encourage people in the area that they have relatives or friends in the state of Mississippi, that they encourage them to get out and vote tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me.
Tomorrow, but not if our people sit at home.
Thank you for reminding me. So, in Mississippi, Mike Espy is in a runoff election, black man, against Cindy Hyde-Smith. Cindy Hyde-Smith was appointed as the governor because the former, it was appointed by the governor to the U.S. Senate because the former senator resigned. So she's holding the seat. Now, she was appointed by the guy who is the nephew of the man who murdered Emmett Till. Yeah. This is a mixed bag of nuts. Okay. Governor Bryant in Mississippi is the nephew of Roy Bryant, the guy who murdered Emmett Till. He appointed Cindy Hyde-Smith to the vacant seat in the U.S. Senate. This lady said she would be on the front row at a public hanging or a public lynching. She'd be sitting on the front row at a public lynching. She was later caught on video saying that she was okay with suppressing black votes, that was a good thing, keeping black people from voting. And then it came out that she sent her daughter to a segregation academy because she didn't want her being educated with black students. This is a sitting U.S. Senator, Cindy Hyde-Smith, in Mississippi, who's in a runoff with a black man tomorrow. Those of you with family and friends in Mississippi, call them up, email them, inbox them, direct message them, get a word out to them, tell them to get to the polls and vote this bigot out of office. Vote this racist, white supremacist who wants to sit on the front row at a public lynching and keep white kids from being educated with black kids and wants to keep black people from voting. Get her out of office tomorrow. Now, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I'm going to predict this right now. And I've been taking a lot of heat because I underscored the fact that most white women voted for Donald Trump. I underscored the fact that the majority of white women who voted in Alabama in the Doug Jones-Roy Moore election voted for the pedophile, Roy Moore. That most white women who voted in Florida recently voted for the bigot, Ron DeSantis. And most white women who voted in Georgia recently voted for the former Secretary of State, Brian Kemp, the racist, the bigot Brian Kemp. Most white women voted, so I underscored the fact that white women are supporting white supremacy all over the country. And they've been up in arms because I said that. I make a prediction right now. The majority of white women tomorrow are going to vote for this bigot, Cindy Hyde Smith. That's why black folk need to get out and vote. Get your cousins, Pookie, Ray Ray and them, all of them. Get them all out to the polls and get this white supremacist out of office in Mississippi. I got to go. Got to get out your way. If you're looking for a place to worship, consider us at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ. We're located at 35 Alden Street in Springfield, Massachusetts. The big brick church right there on 6 corners. You can meet us at 9:30 and at 11 o'clock on Sunday. And you can meet us at 7 p.m. for Bible study on Tuesday evenings. James Lewis is in the studio. He's coming up next with mid-morning jazz, great black music. It's been my pleasure being with you. Welcome to my Instagram viewers, first time on Instagram. Everybody else, until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you, and so do I. All right, y'all, I gotta go.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of WTCC Radio or Springfield Technical Community College.
All right. I'll holler at y'all later, Instagram. First time on, I think I'm going to keep y'all on every week. All right, peace and blessings. What's going on, man?
In your world, sir. All the trumpers of the world.
Yes, sir. All right, Twitter, Periscope. Check y'all out later. Peace out, Facebook.